I thought people would think I was crazy. Here I was, a very senior executive advising sultans and royal families and Fortune 20 CEOs.
Welcome to today's episode of the Nervous System Beauty Coach. I'm honored to have one of my mentors, JD Messenger. Welcome. JD and I met at a dream porting retreat a few years back in Austin, Texas. So I found our meeting was quite quite a synchronicity. I think the universe leads us to where we need to sit and what we need to hear. I was at a retreat, and during the break, you I was overhearing you saying, "Oh, I'm a spiritual advisor to kings and presidents." I was like, "What? That's I need, who are you? Like, I need to. How are you a spiritual advisor to kings and presidents? Because one day that's what something I aspire to amass enough knowledge and wisdom to be able to advise, people, all sorts of people.
Right.
So I'm really honored to have you here today. And JD, I'll let you give your
Well,
bio and your introduction.
yeah, it wasn't a plan, okay? uh, one of the things I've discovered is the more we try to plan things and think about things in our head, the more we get in the way sometimes of the universe and what we're supposed to be doing. Not always, but sometimes. See, my background was a nuclear engineer math major. I graduated from the United States Naval Academy, and I was a nuclear submarine officer, and then an Exxon executive and an Ernst Young partner. So I was leading global supply chain, global merger integrations for the largest corporations in the world, the top, 15, 20 in the Fortune 500 list. And I had a terrible accident. I broke my neck and I had a near-death experience. I went through the tunnel, I saw the light, and I like to joke that I was a reject on the other side. They threw me back. And you can go to my website and or Google my videos and hear the full story of what it was like going through the tunnel and the light and all that. But um, came back, took 6 months to learn how to walk and talk and chew gum again, and I had two surgeries to fix my neck. And the relevant point to the story is that I started having unexplained spiritual phenomenon. I had visions of events that happened. And for example, one day I had a vision of a funeral. And a couple days later, I'm walking around the corner, and there exactly was the vision of the funeral I saw. I had visions of inventions and creations that would be dreams, keeping me awake at night. One was about a game, and I just saw this printing press of the game going, ka-chunk, ka-chunk being printed. I was like, leave me alone, I want to sleep. And so I made the game in like 9 hours, and it was a multi-million dollar contract. And I was living with one foot in the physical world, which I call the world of form, and one foot in the invisible world, which I call the world of light. And I thought I was going crazy because this did not compute with, a left brain nuclear engineer, math major's definition of reality. And so in order to save my sanity, I quit my CEO. I was the CEO of Ernst Young in Southeast Asia, and I quit the, seven-figure job and became an entrepreneur and just spent the next 10 years studying my navel under a tree, who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? So that was sort of the genesis for the quest for me to discover the purpose of life living in reality and the nature of reality and, who I am and why we're here.
Wow, thanks for sharing. So let me connect it. Why would I have you as my guest on the Nervous System Beauty Coach? How is that connected? So very interesting that you share. I see the connection of the what you're sharing is the inner and outer game, how the inner world affects the outer world, and how yeah. So I think a lot of times we people are stuck where it's just a superficial, topical, or the 3D world, outside world, but it's a merging of the inner and outer world, and that's why I'm love to have a deeper conversation with you and the wisdom and insights you can share. And you are the author of also 11 Days in May, which I'm I've read, and it's just mind-boggling the wisdoms here, which definitely want you to share today. So um, let's start with
Why don't-
your.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Why don't I start with that? At the end of this 10-year journey, and I'm going to come back to the inner and outer game and why I think it's relevant for your audience. Um, I had a vision one day. It was 11 o'clock at night, and I saw words sort of going across my eyes. like a computer screen, but I'm sitting out by my pool looking at the sky. There's nothing there. And I called that writing on the wall, the wow effect. And I'd had it for years, so I wasn't shocked. So I just went into my room and I started writing. And I wrote for 11 days, and it was the 1st of May, and I was finished on the 11th of May. And when I was done, my wife said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "I think I wrote a book." And she said, "What's it about?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't read it yet." And if I tried to, I know that sounds crazy and people may not believe it, but it's not an uncommon, it's a rare phenomenon, but it's, call it channeling, call it super consciousness. But the book needed no editing and it was published and it hit #1 in Amazon. The ebook hit #1 and it won four gold and one silver writing awards. And the thing was, that book made me come out and tell my story because I had never told anyone because I thought people would think I was crazy. Here I was, a very senior executive advising sultans and royal families and Fortune, 20 CEOs. And so I had to come out and tell my story since the book was published. And here's the bottom line to the sort of the message um without spoiling some things in the book. By the way, the book is 36 parables, and it asks questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? What is the soul? What is death? What is time? What is reality? What is religion? What is science? What is pain? What is suffering? And so the book is a conversation between me and an unnamed friend. And the message, the bottom line to the book is that we don't have a soul, we are a soul. And we are pure energy. Everything is energy, and energy is everything. We're not really physical beings. This is scientific fact. If you took all of the physical matter out of our body, which is a neutron, it wouldn't, they wouldn't fit on a pinhead. You can't even see the solid mass neutron in our body at 200 million times magnification. So Yoda was right. We're a light being and we came from the light and we're in form, but we're still surrounded by the light. So I call this, the world of light and the world of form. And it's not dualistic. It's not independent. I believe we're a soul that lives many lives and and therefore we came from the world of light and we are informed to learn lessons to pursue our passion, power, and purpose, which I call our Trinity. And then we're done, we go back to the light. Now, so the outer game is the world of form, the solid physical life, jobs, body, and the inner game is the world of light and our thoughts and our beliefs. And as it relates to you and creating outer beauty, it begins with inner beauty. And, Gandhi said it, um, Buddha said it, Henry Ford said it. Many people said, what you think you become. Though I think the way Gandhi said it is, your thoughts become your beliefs come, your reality and your life. Not those exact words. And Henry Ford said, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And so if you want to have a beautiful, happy external life, it begins in the inner game of your thoughts and beliefs.
Wow. So even the body, your skin, how you look, your surroundings, that is considered the will of form. Is that what you're saying?
Well, reality is, and again, you can ask any scientist, Nobel laureates. I interviewed and talked to many Nobel laureates. One man was a Nobel laureate who won his prize for proving Einstein's formula. His name is Professor Frank Wilczek. And I said, Frank, what exactly am I? And he goes, you're pretty much nothing. You're pretty
Hmm.
much nothing. It's very confusing to us that we feel these things and they feel solid, when in
Hmm.
fact it's just energy binding other energy. And our thoughts physically affect those energy particles.
Okay.
Einstein called it spooky behavior. There's lots of, I'm not going to get too deep into the science and physics of it, but when we think about something, the thing we think about changes. In the quantum field, sometimes things are particles and sometimes things are waves. And a wave becomes a particle when we think about it. And so we talk about there's an infinite potential of future events, and it is our collective thoughts and intentions that then manifest that outcome. And then we can start going down deeper and talk about how our thoughts affect our reality, why our center of consciousness is here and we are sending and receiving information and messages, how the amygdala in the back of our head is triggered by fear and it shuts this off. And that's why we can talk later about why we do breath work and why we do grounding to shut off the amygdala, to activate the frontal cortex, so that you can use this supercomputer, which is processing 38 trillion operations a second. It's a million times more powerful than my MacBook Pro. And I love talking about the science and the physics and the biology and all that sort of stuff, but I'll try not to talk too long so we can have a dialogue.
No, it's fascinating. So where can anyone start though? If you're saying if science is proving that your outer reality is a reflection of your thoughts, your beliefs, and if someone's not content with their life, if they're going through suffering, if they want to change their circumstances.
One of the first thing you have to start with is believing. Okay, seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing. Now, it's also very hard to believe something. I mean, I didn't believe for 10 years. I mean, I was pretty, you know, against all of this stuff. I thought it was all la la woo woo, crazy, new age stuff, until I found out, no, it's philosophy, it's science, it's physics, it's biology, and so forth. One of the things that stops us is what I call flop. That's my term. It stands for faulty, limited, outdated program. And psychologists would call it a tape. Um, Dr. Phil, I think he calls it defining moments in his book, Self Matters. But basically, whenever you're having a negative emotional reaction, you get angry, you start shaking, you're afraid, um, you feel betrayed, the wind got knocked out of you, that kind of a physical negative emotional reaction. There is a trigger event that triggered a program in your cells that is a wound. And so it could be a faulty program, a limiting program, an outdated program, and that becomes a belief, which becomes your identity, which becomes your life. And so I think of these things as viruses.
Mhm,
So these viruses come from wounds. And in my research, there's seven major wounds: fear, blame, shame, guilt, persecution, betrayal, ostracized, right? And so the way they'll show up is, guilt will show up as a pain in your gallbladder, anger in your liver, fear in your kidneys, persecution, ostracization in your throat and thyroid, betrayal in your heart. So when I work with clients, and I've had over 1,000, I'm very empathic. I feel what's going on in their body. And so many times, let's take quite a few clients where they're trying to say something and I feel like my throat is getting strangled. And so I know their fifth chakra, which is one of your power centers, it's like an energy computer processing unit, is
mhm,
blocked because they're afraid to speak their truth or stand in their power because somebody persecuted or abused them. And so
mhm,
I got to find that flop, that wound, and help
mhm,
them release it. So, so one of the things I'm going to go back and say it's very hard to believe without seeing. But that is where it starts. You must believe that you are worthy, believe that you are powerful, believe that you can be and do anything you want to do because you are in control of the energy, the information, and the programs in the supercomputer. So the techniques that you teach, I teach, grounding, breath work, regression, healing therapies, all that. These are not physically painful or difficult things to do, but they're not easy because the brain tries to stop us, because the amygdala gets triggered. So, again, all these things that we say, and I'll tell people write affirmations, say this affirmation 50 times, in 7 days, and you will see a change in your life. And I could tell you story after story after story. This one woman, we made her list of affirmations and she was down, she was depressed, she had lost her confidence, she was losing weight, she wasn't sleeping, she thought she was a failure. We gave her a list of affirmations. She said those affirmations. 2 weeks later, her life had completely changed. People were
Really?
complimenting her. She was the top salesperson. She was sleeping. And I was like, what happened? And she goes, I
Mhm.
don't know. I said, you don't know? I said, how many times did you say your affirmations? What's happening, and I'll pause, okay, but I would like to get back into the affirmations and how what's physically happening in our brains when we're speaking, thinking, writing these things. That's important for people to understand the biology. Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, that's okay. So with regards to affirmations, then the lady just mentioned 2 weeks her life changed, but
Completely.
sometimes I feel I'm doing affirmations and it's not working, or I'm just it's just coming out. It's just the mouth saying it. I'm not
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
it. I'm not
So,
feeling it.
right.
So any
So,
tips on that?
yeah, absolutely. I call it TWSF. Think it, write it, speak it, feel it. Okay, so you think the affirmation, I am safe and secure, I am strong and healthy, I'm accepted and loved. Then you speak it, so you think it, you write it, speak it, you write it, write by hand. Typing it out doesn't do it. You write it by hand. I am strong, like the teachers in the school, write this 50 times. I am accepted and loved. I'm accepted and loved. Think it, write it, speak it, and then feel it. Now, when you feel it, your body believes it and has accepted it. So if you're not feeling accepted and loved, if you're not feeling in your body, and let's make sure people understand there's a big difference between thinking and feeling. A lot of men, when I ask them to tell me what they're feeling, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I say, look, feel your butt sitting in your chair. Just feel it. Feel your back against the seat. Feel your fingertips touching. Then we'll do a grounding exercise, and I'll go, I want you to feel the pulse in your index fingers. And it might take somebody 2 or 3 days of grounding and breathing, and then they'll feel the pulse. When they can feel the pulse, it's an indication that you are now feeling your body. I say, okay, now you know what I mean by feel? Okay. So when you, when you're, let's talk about what's happening in the brain. The brain is nothing but miles and miles and miles, I forget how many, of fiber optic tubes with water and electrical impulses. There's no hard drive in your brain. So first of all, your brain isn't going to work right if you're not drinking enough water, if you don't have enough healthy nutrients, you don't have a balanced diet. Your brain doesn't work well if you're not doing those things. So you need to have healthy diet and nutrition and get proper sleep. So now a message is an electrical impulse. This communication right here is a sound wave turned into a frequency sent in a light beam through Verizon or AT&T and T and put back down into your computer, which is one this is a million times more powerful than that computer. So if you believe how this communication is working and you believe how your mobile phone is working, you got to believe that this computer is more powerful than that computer. And you have the ability to send and receive these messages. That's the way it works. This is science. This is physics. And it is these thoughts physically affect protons and electrons. Now, so these thoughts are these little electrical impulses going through your brain. When you don't believe something, that thought is like hitting a red light. It won't go through the tube. And so when you are thinking it, it tries to go through this way. When you write it, it tries to go through this way. When you speak it, it tries to go through this way. And when you finally feel it, it's going through, and now your body's accepting it. So the affirmation, if it's not working, you're not doing think it, write it, speak it. You're not learning how to feel it. You may not believe it. And if you don't believe it, it will never happen because the program in here is saying, no, no, I don't believe it. I'm going to tell you the biggest thing. People say they have faith. Now, most of the time they're talking about religion, but having faith is much bigger. Religion is just a subset of faith. How about faith in yourself? Faith in the country, faith in your product, faith in your company. You've got to believe in all these things. So if subconsciously you don't believe it, you're sabotaging yourself. So then you could go down an exercise and say, okay, I am safe and secure. I am strong and healthy. Let's go through. Do I believe I'm safe? No. Why? Well, I don't have enough money. Why? Do I believe I'm secure? Now, the trick to overcome these limiting beliefs and flops is to think of it right here, right now.
Mm.
Okay, see, right here, right now, you're safe, aren't you?
In the present moment.
Right here, right now, you're healthy, aren't you?
In the present moment, yes.
Right. Yeah. See, so that's part of the answer to your question.
My interpretation of that is, yeah, in the present moment, and but sometimes we are unconscious and we're unconscious of the thoughts disturbing the present moment.
But we're
Affect,
all the time
yeah,
unconscious of the software programs running in the background.
right. So then there's is an unhealthy thought or a self-limiting belief thought that's visiting us, disturbing our confidence and belief
Right.
in ourselves.
Right.
So your technique you just mentioned is, well, then question, be self-aware, question it. Am I safe now? Do I feel healthy now? That brings me back to the present moment. So that's taking control of um, where I put my thoughts and have more control over my beliefs again.
Right. The affirmations are in the present. The past is filled with fears, doubts, and regrets, which steals our future. So when you're thinking all the time, you can't, I was going to say you could feel the past. You could feel the past through memory wounds like PTSD. Um, I don't think you can feel the future, and you can certainly feel the present, but the past and the future are like the twin thieves that steal your today, you know? So you've got to not worry about the future, have regrets about the past, which is where letting go comes in. So, you have to let go and let come. So a couple of my favorite, well, one of my favorite little axioms or idioms is just say yes and choose the best. When you say no, you stop the flow. Just say yes. You're not committing to buy the car or the house or get married. Just say yes and explore it. Don't. So many people are offered opportunities or they reach out. You're being helped or guided by guides, if you believe in angels and guides, all the time, and you don't pay attention. You're not open to receive. Every one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me in my life, a number one television show, a number one best-selling book, a number one world's first multimedia ebook, they weren't my ideas. It was an inspiration I received, and I just said, sure, I'll try it. Yes, let's go with it, you know? And
But
great things happen.
isn't that
But,
inspiration feeling the future though?
well, first of all, we all have invisible superpowers. Um, the major categories, you can call it clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, that sort of stuff, but I'm trying to make it simple and break it down. Some people see things, some people feel things, some hear, some know. Now let's break that down even more. Sensing and insight is different from an intuition. An intuition is a warning. Sensing an insight is an inspiration. Seeing a vision could be a future event and precognition, or it could be it could be a vision of something you're creating or innovating. So I try to, these major categories, clairsentience, audience, precog, they break down into subsets, and it's important to understand what superpower you have. And we all have some. Everybody has some. The most powerful is intuition, and the second most powerful is empathy or feeling. And most of the time, people don't pay attention to it. Now, I forgot why I went down that path. It was something you said that made me talk about their superpowers.
How can one? So you're saying everyone has these superpowers.
Everyone has superpowers.
Um,
Let
how
me let
can
me
we?
let me tell you why I say that, because I have presented to, I'm sure, 100,000 people, and when I speak, I have my audience vote. And I
Mhm.
ask them to, say yes, if you've ever felt someone staring at you and turn around, they are. Say yes if you have ever had an intuition of something and it happened. Say yes if you've ever had a precognitive event, say yes if you hear voices in your head. The percentage of people that have responded is 88%. 88% all say yes, one or more of those things has happened. 6% say I don't know, and 6% say no.
And what is the
And,
point of having what is the point of having superpowers? Like, are we
well,
supposed to do something
these
with
are
it?
your greatest gifts. My primarily coach CEO entrepreneurs. I think you know that. And um, the greatest entrepreneurs and inventors, whether it's, Einstein, Edison, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, painters like Peter Max, they all used their superpowers. If you research them, you find out usually after they died because they didn't want to tell anybody that they were hearing voices or seeing visions and things like that. So when I work with these people that you think, oh my God, they're smart or whatever, no, they're just following their guidance. They're following and trusting their intuition, their visions, their guides, their insights, call it whatever you want. I mean, I didn't write 11 Days in May. I had no idea what I wrote. And here it is. In 11 days, I wrote a #1 bestseller without thinking about it,
Mm.
without literally knowing what I wrote. But that's the same thing. Mozart, he didn't write music, he heard music in his head and he wrote down the notes that he
Yeah,
heard. Peter
right.
Max, famous painter, when I've interviewed Peter several times, I said, how do you paint? He said, I just watch my hand doing it. I don't know what my hand is doing.
Right.
Walt Disney saw the visions of his cartoons in his mind's eye. It's just like the way I saw the game.
I understand. I when I accepted my superpowers through breath work, I had a Kundalini awakening a few years ago. And when I accepted my superpowers, I would start channeling messages more, channel orbit messages. Um, and then after I said something, people, they told me their lives would change, or they give give me how they shifted, and I was not. I didn't even know I said that. Or I would see a video of me saying something
Right, right,
on
right,
social
right,
media. I was like, did I say that? How did I know how to say that? How do I know the
right,
answer to that? I didn't even know.
right.
Um, but that proves like when I was younger, I thought, no, it's not really a superpower. It's just maybe I'm imagining things or I'm
So
making
let me
things
tell you
up.
something. Again, 1,000 clients, all very successful, 95% of them. They don't know who they are. They don't know their own gifts and powers. I didn't know, and probably still
Mhm.
don't know
Yeah.
all of my gifts and powers because it's so natural to us, whatever it is, that we think, oh, doesn't everybody do that?
Yeah.
It's so e your superpower is so easy. So I told you I'd made games.
Right. Right.
The games were called Boiler Room, and there's still a website. It's a leadership game, Leadership Boiler Room. I can't remember the name of the website. But anyway, we did this with thousands of clients, and it was a race against time to save the company or save the country, whichever game version they took. And people would die if you didn't eat food, or terrorists would capture you and all that. And so it drives people into instinctive mode. And in order to survive, you got to share money and food and intelligence clues. So it's sort of like a leadership team building innovation game. Fantastic, a lot of fun. And I have watched 10,000 people play that game, and every time you will see a person's natural essence come out,
Mm.
whether they're creative or innovative, whether they manage the assets or the money. And so in this one particular game, this one woman, this was with a team of military officers at the Naval Academy. Um, this one woman was taking notes and watching what everybody was doing, and she was tabulating the number of clues and how much money, and she organized and structured everything, but never did anything. She just kept things and people aware of what was going on. And when we were done, they won the game, and 50% of people don't win the game because the game is like the Star Trek Kobayashi Maru. It's designed to fail, and they won, and we're like, oh my God. And they're like, well, why did we win? And everybody pointed to her. I forget her name. Let's say her name was Stephanie. Stephanie did it. And she's like, what? You saved us. It was because of you that we were survived and won. She goes, what did I do? She didn't even know what she was doing, but she was the one. That was her superpower, which from an archetype, there's lots of people, there's 7, 12, 24 archetypes. There's the master builder, the illuminator, the lover, the teacher, the seeker, the hunter, the visionary, you know what I mean, right? So in her particular spiritual archetype, which I use numerology to help a person understand their archetypes and wounds, which I think you know, but she was a number 4. And a number 4 is an organizer and a task builder. And
Mm.
a lot of people who have an archetype that's a major part of their chart as an organizer, they go, oh God, that's boring. Why am I not a visionary or an inventor or a
Mm.
creator? And I'm like, oh no, you don't understand. Everybody needs an organizer, task manager. You could go work for anybody
Yeah.
because that is a universal skill. Everybody needs to succeed. Oh, okay. But anyway, she didn't know it.
Yeah.
She
I,
didn't know that she was even doing that. And even after you point it out, most people still they don't see it. Now, if you take a video of them and you watch the video replay in the game and they
yeah.
see themselves, then they start to know who they are. But we're all that
So
way.
that's so true. We underestimate our own superpowers, and we are focused sometimes on what we are not strong at or what are not our immediate superpowers. And then we feel sometimes we're deficient or we're not qualified enough. So you're saying we should focus on our superpowers, but what blocks us from our superpowers though? How can we enhance our superpowers?
Okay, you got great questions here. And we didn't rehearse, folks. No, this is great. We're just having a conversation. So, um, first of all, the number one reason that you don't think you have a superpower is because you're not paying attention, you're not aware, you're not observing yourself. Look, we learn going forward. Excuse me, we live life going forward in time, but we learn going in reverse. You must go in reverse to discover your superpowers. You need a journal of intuition, a journal for insights, a journal for flops, fears, trigger, emotional. And you start keeping a journal. Every time you got triggered, what was happening, who said what, where were you, what was the environment? And after 4 or 5 triggers, you're going to see, oh my gosh, it was always a man. It was always in an office. And it was when they started questioning me about what I was saying. Now, that's a real example of a woman who was the CEO. And she would get triggered every time a man sitting at the boardroom would challenge her statement. She exploded. And that wound came back all the way during regression. Was she was a little girl sitting at the dining room wooden table, and her father said, "You're never going to be anything. You're never going to amount to anything." That was the original wound, the flop, and defining moment, a tape, snapshot. The brain, the eyes took a snapshot of the sound, the room, the table, the man, and it said, "Danger, danger. This is what PTSD is." You
Mhm.
hear about the guy driving over a road, in
Yeah.
his truck and he hits a speed bump and he thinks he just got blown up in Iraq, right?
Yeah.
That's a tape or a flop. So, um, so these flops and triggers stop us from accepting, knowing, and believing. But it's more than just flops. It's just that you're not paying attention. You don't believe people. So many times people constant reinforcement.
Mm.
I've got some clients where I have to their self-esteem is so low. You've got to remind them who they are and how great they are every week. That low self-esteem has come from a wound where someone has said, "You're stupid, you're dumb, you're never going to amount to anything." Maybe they got beaten, raped, abused sexually, verbally. Maybe they were destitute, homeless,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Now, so you must go back and reflect. Reflect on things that were great and what happened. What did I
Mm-hmm.
do? Reflect on fears and wounds and triggers. What happened? Who triggered it? How? So basically, at a high level, I'll say you must go looking for it. You must go look for the superpower, look for the gift, look for the wound.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when you find it, if it's a superpower, you've got to believe it, which means
Mm-hmm.
you've got to do your affirmations. If it's
Mm-hmm.
a wound, you got to delete it. It's a virus program and you got to delete it. Most of the time, if it's a very old or deep wound, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to require, in my experience, a family constellation, a personal regression, which is the number one thing I do to heal deep wounds, or a medicinal journey.
Mm-hmm.
The medicinal journeys with psilocybin and things like that are so
Yeah.
powerful.
I equate that's interesting. I equate looking for the wounds as in when my mom Ling, who was a renowned master celebrity facialist, was known for her extractions of pimples, right? So normally when we have a pimple, we want to cover it up, avoid it. It's painful, but it looks ugly. We don't want to confront it. But my mom was known for extracting it. So that's how people went to her. Like, okay, Ling has a way of extracting it out. So I think when it's interesting you say, okay, look for our superpowers, but also look for our wounds. So that's something I'm
Yeah, she didn't cover it up.
no,
See, that's the point you're
she got to
making.
lance it and
So,
get the
right,
infection
see,
out.
let's talk about covering up a pimple or a scar or something. You're gonna notice my teeth. I don't. I got big gaps in my teeth. They're a little crooked. They're not bad. And people would say, years and years and years. Why don't you get your teeth done or whatever? And I just look at them and I'm like, you know, these are my teeth. That's who I am. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to be a fake. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
put something on my teeth that makes them all look like nice white movie star teeth like you. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need that for my self-esteem. And in fact,
Mm-hmm.
this is part of my character. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also short. I'm barely touching 5'7", and I don't wear heels in my shoes. That's a facade. You learn to become, what was I always this way? Hell no. I had an alcoholic father who beat me. I had a mother who
Mm-hmm.
sort of abandoned me. I lived,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say in poverty, but The first time I ever had a new pair of clothes, I think I was 9 years old. It was for my
Mm,
sister's wedding. So I grew up feeling unloved, unworthy, and unwanted, which
mm,
made me pursue, climb the corporate ladder, make more money, get more power, all
mm.
that until I had my near-death experience. By the way, my name is Jonathan David Messenger. That's the name of my birth certificate. Everybody wants to know if Messenger is my real name. So let's get that out of the way. Yeah, that's my real name. And JD it's shortened because my name was too long to fit on the name tags in the military. So that's why people call me JD Messenger. Now, so um, yeah, I mean, take it from there. What's your next
Well,
follow-up?
well,
Covering up, that's where we were,
yeah.
was don't cover up you. Whether you think you're short, you think you're overweight, you think you're too tall, you think you're done, get rid of those labels.
But the
Don't let
wound can, but the wound can be painful. I think that's where sometimes I've
Okay,
been
wait a minute,
stuck.
wait a minute. Are we talking pain or suffering? Because pain is physical, suffering is mental.
Uh, okay, so pain is physical, suffering is mental
Yeah.
and emotional. So I think the wound, pain, I think the wound is our storyline of what happened, right? Our
Well, and that's all
narration.
suffering. That's all
Yeah,
suffering.
yeah,
Now,
the
now,
narration.
a continued pattern of suffering can lead to physical ailments, which
Mm,
can lead to pain. So, for example, I've seen people have a broken heart. After a while, their shoulders start to roll over and they hunch over. They're
yeah,
closing in their heart, and you'll find out they have a heart condition. So
right.
after, 10, 20, 30, well, more like 20, 30 years of being unloved or wanted, you will get a heart condition, you know? Of years of guilt, you will destroy your gallbladder.
Okay, so what I get from my training is that we have to meet the wound with curiosity, with why is it there, with compassion, with gentleness. So I see the pattern of sometimes like they always say, oh, you get involved in the same situation, different name, same type of relationship, same vicious loop, right? Why does it happen? What I gather is that the wound is there to the reoccurring wound is occurring because you're trying there's a lesson there. There's a lesson that needs to, be whatever fixed, or you're trying to
So let's
revisit.
go.
Mhm.
Exactly. And let's go to world of light, world of form, okay? As a soul, we have this is school. We came into this physical body to learn a lesson, and this is how we learn the lessons through pain and suffering. We grow and learn through failure and suffering and pain, suffering mental, pain physical, okay? And then when you learn the lesson, you've healed the wound and you've become a stronger, more powerful being in
Mm,
in form and light. Now, I agree with you about you approach the wound with curiosity, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, and release. Whenever I do a regression, we set an intention, and the first statement for the intention is always the same. I am open to understand, forgive, and release the source of blank, my source of anger, my source of guilt, my source of shame, whatever it is. And those are all important words. I've had some clients where they say, I don't want to forgive. I said, well, then we're not going to do a regression. You must forgive it to let it go. You want to understand where the wound came from in the regression. You want to forgive the people or person that did it to you, and then you want to let it go.
I get it.
So
That is the
forgiveness is a key
lesson.
part.
Yeah, to me,
What?
it's almost like a video game. It's like you got to that stage again, right? It's like
Yeah.
a
You're
pitfall
trapped in
or
Tomb Raider. You're trapped in
Yeah,
level 4 of Tomb Raider.
you're trapped. Yeah, exactly. You're trapped there, and you keep getting to level 4, and you keep losing to the big boss there, right? And then eventually you have to tomorrow you'll come back to level 4 again and again and again until you find a way to change and beat it.
Right. I
So
call it, it's Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, right? Until you're self-aware enough to like, I think instead of pressing A, I got to press B. Instead of going left, I
Right.
have to go right to eventually overcome the stage,
Yeah, you're exactly
right?
right. It's a great metaphor.
Yeah, so that's how I deal with my, I guess, trying to transmute my suffering is okay. You have to. This painful lesson is not a punishment. It's just the video game showing you where you have to jump higher, develop your superpowers. So where do our superpowers or come in line with this? Like what do we like? Okay,
So
we have a
let's
lesson.
go let's go
Uh-huh.
back to the highest level. Everything is energy and energy is everything. Okay? Energy doesn't ever die. You know what? You want to hear a strange thing? Does an email ever die?
No.
No. As long as we have servers, you sent
Yeah.
an email. If you sent an email 20 years ago, it is still floating out there if there's a server
Hmm.
with that email. And
In
if
the
you
cloud.
open up your email account, you will get that email. That email is it is an energy wave carrying information. Think of it like here's a wave and here's zeros and ones, zeros and ones, zeros and ones of
Mhm.
energy and information. Everything in the universe is energy, information, and matter. That's all there is. Energy, information, and matter. Matter is both solid matter and non-solid, or physical and non-physical. Okay. Now, that matter then created beings. Those beings, physical things, plants, birds, animals, carry information. And we are all a part of everything, everywhere, all at once, just like the damn movie. And we are sharing that energy and information around us. Now, some of that information is is valid information. Some of it is outdated. The world is no longer flat. Outdated program, you know?
Mhm.
Um, Women can now be in Congress, outdated program. For a lot of people, they think that a person, a man who likes a man or a woman who likes a woman, they think there's something evil with that. Well, that's preposterous. Okay, because the animal kingdom, sexuality is a bell curve. It always has been, it always will be. There are some animals that are asexual, bisexual, pansexual. That's the animal spectrum. And, cows are the most homosexual animals there are, and bulls rather, not cows. And on and on and on. And some frogs and other animals can be both sexes. This is a natural phenomenon in nature. So that's
Mhm.
an outdated limiting program that you think, that somebody's gender is who they are.
Mhm.
Um, and so you get the idea. A limiting program is one where you think you can't, you know. Um, I've been told many times in my life that I was crazy. I'm crazy to think that I could make a TV show, crazy to think I have a game, crazy or stupid to think that I just invented the world's first multimedia ebook. I did not accept the belief of others. I didn't accept it.
Mhm.
You are who you think you are. Don't
Mhm.
let other people, and guess who those other people are? Oh, it's your mother, your father, your partner, your friends, right? We don't want to hurt our closest inner circles, belief, family and friends by saying, don't tell me that. Don't tell me I can't be what I want to be. You're not my friend if you're trying to tell me I can't be or do something.
Hmm.
That's a,
Hmm.
I'm going to knock on the table. If you think you got a best friend and your best friend is telling you you're stupid or that's a bad idea or don't do it, there's two possibilities. One, that could be stupid and a bad idea, but it could also be that they are jealous of you or
Hmm.
envious of you and they don't believe in themselves.
Right.
So they're never going to believe in you. So you got to be very careful if you let other people, I call them the naysayers.
I call
And
it the power of authenticity.
well, this is all about being authentic. This
Right.
entire conversation is be authentically you.
Right.
Stand in your power, speak your truth, say what you
Hmm.
mean what you say, do what you say you're going to do. And guess
Hmm.
what? You're not going to offend people. People may not like what you say or do, but they will respect you for being authentic and powerful.
Right. So that's really my greater message is because the nervous system beauty coach, the mission is really spreading the message and the guidance on how to become beautiful inside and out again. So
Right.
I think the power to become beautiful, you are beautiful, everyone's beautiful, but how to become beautiful from the inside out is,
Right. That's the whole thing. I mean, come
yeah.
on. How many times have you seen somebody who I'm going to say is extremely overweight and they're like a freaking amazing dancer or actress?
Uh-huh.
I mean, look at what's that? I can see she's a hysterical comedian, you know. It was in Spy, and I can't think of her name. But anyway, the woman was like 300 pounds, and
Mhm.
she is and was a great actress. Weight has no
Mhm.
bearing. How about
Mhm.
somebody that has a speech impediment, or
Yeah.
is short, or is a different color? These
Yeah.
these are irrelevant things. Don't let the world of form put you in a box. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the boxes. We have a gender box, male, female, a country box, American, Russian, Chinese. We've got a intelligent box. We've got a color, skin color box. We've got a graduation, non-graduate box. We've got a religion box. How many of these freaking little boxes do we have? And those boxes are the boundaries of your identity. And what you need to do is explode all of those boundaries of those little boxes because
I think what, yeah,
none of
no,
them are you.
okay. And I think why people perhaps knowingly or unknowingly go into that fake box is, why do we go in that box? I believe it's because of they
Well,
want validation, acceptance, love, certainty, right? It's like, okay, if I go in that box, there's a sense of security. Am I right? What do you think of that?
first of all, you didn't go in the box. You were born in a box. Okay. So I call this our OD or our original download. So whether you were born in 1950, 1980, 1990, 2010, whatever, there's an original download about the population, energy consumption, genders, history, all that sort of stuff, religion, geographies, all that sort of stuff. So when you were born, you were imprinted in utero, scientific fact. The beliefs and programs of your mother were imprinted in you at a cellular level. We know
Right.
about the mother, it's scientifically proven. I don't know if the imprint of the father is there. I know that the
Mhm.
imprint of the mother is there.
Mhm.
And um, so when you were born, you already were born with a set of programs and beliefs. And they could be 50 years outdated. They could be
Mhm.
2,000 years outdated. Maybe your mother believed, and I say this, I don't mean to offend anyone, but I
Mhm.
really don't like women being oppressed. Women
Right.
have been sexually abused, oppressed for thousands of years, and it's going away, and it needs to keep going away because women are beautiful, powerful. Doesn't matter whether you're man or woman, it's irrelevant in terms of knowledge and power and all that sort of stuff. So, but your mother might have believed that, I need to do what my husband says. I'm not supposed to work. I need to raise children and cook. And so then that's imprinted on you. Now, then there's history, science, culture. And so let's say, there's a different imprint if you were born in California versus Texas versus New York versus Ukraine, Russia, France. And then there's a different, you see where I'm going?
Programming.
So you've got all of this programming.
Uh-huh.
So now you come back to, okay, I am in a box. Do I like the box I'm in?
Mm.
And the answer is pretty simple. If you are feeling stressed or anxiety or depression, there's a problem about your box because your outer box, the world you're in the outer game, is incongruent with the inner box.
Mm.
See what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the inner game box might be saying, I love this culture and history, and you might be in an outer game box where, oh my God, these people don't support my beliefs. Or it could be the other way around. I'm in this inner game box of programming where women are suppressed and white men should be in control of everything. And I don't believe that, but yet my outer game is supporting that, and I don't believe that. So what happens is whenever there is anxiety or stress, frustration, there is an incongruency between an inner thought and an outer situation. The way you resolve this conflict or stress is you've got to judge whether I need to fix my outer game, where I
Mm.
live, who I'm married to, my job, my
Right.
income, or I got to
Oh,
change my inner game program. This is exactly where you come in.
right.
You might be talking about physical beauty and
Uh-huh.
health and wellness, but as you know, you're talking about total health and wellness by
Holistic, yeah.
aligning the inner and outer and saying to somebody who might say, I'm not pretty according to Instagram, but I believe I'm pretty.
Hmm. If you believe you're pretty, you become more pretty. If you believe you're
You
beautiful,
do,
you become more
right?
beautiful. If you maybe conventionally people think you're attractive, but inside you feel unattractive, you're not attractive. You're not feeling it. Your state of being, right? So it's really well put. It's really aligning both boxes where it's truly your box or the box you're deciding to.
Actually, there is
Um,
no box.
there is no box,
There is no
right?
box. Get
There's no
out of the
box.
box. Yeah.
There's no box.
Let me put
JD,
it
can
to
we
you
take?
this way.
Yeah,
Let me say
yeah.
it another way. I am a man, an
Mhm.
American, a submarine officer, an Exxon executive, a painter, a writer, a speaker, a fireman, television host, creator, radio host. I am all of those things, and I am none of those things. I am a
Mm,
father, a brother, a son, a husband. I am all of those things, and I am none of those things.
right.
I am
Hmm.
none of those things because that's just a label in the world of form. Those labels don't define my soul.
Mm.
My soul, I'm a teacher.
Your
I'm
soul, you're a
a
teacher.
seeker of knowledge and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my soul.
JD, so you're saying there is no box. There is no box, meaning we're we're limitless
I
and
think our
we're
soul is a being of unlimited power and potential to create wonders. Yeah.
so from your conversations with what do you call it? Who'd
My
you have a
friend,
conversation with? Your friend.
my
Okay,
friend.
so your friend in 11 days in May you had a conversation. So what what is the purpose of being here then?
The purpose is to achieve a higher state of evolution. Um, the purpose of change. Um, Look, everything is energy and energy is everything. Energy has three purposes. It can create, it can maintain, and it can destroy. That's all. Think about it. That's all that energy, everything, every car, person, building, bomb, weapon. I mean, it can create, maintain, or destroy. A gun can create peace, maintain peace, or kill people, right? A company create, maintain, energy, create, maintain. Everything, including us, has one of three purposes. We are creating something, maintaining something, or destroying something. And that's the circle of life. Interrupt that circle, distort that circle, and the universe, the world is unbalanced. As an individual, we are creating, maintaining, and then dissolving. And so the purpose, as since I believe in reincarnation and we live many lives, and I don't believe that lightly, I believe it after my own regressions and experiences,
Mhm.
hundreds and hundreds of clients' regressions, the science, the evidence, the metaphysical research, on and on and on. Okay. So there's no other explanation to this left brain nuclear engineer, spiritual best-selling person. Um, and so if we are a soul and we live many lives, and by the way, more than half of the world's population believes that, then what's going on? Why do we live lives? Well, so I look at astrology or numerology and I see your lessons and you're here to learn a lesson. And then I, spend 10, 15, 20 years doing numerology, working with clients for up to 10 years, seeing that as they learn a lesson, their life gets, they improve, they get happier, they get wealthier, their business increases revenue fourfold, whatever it might be, or they don't heal the lesson and they just Groundhog Day are stuck in level 4 Tomb Raider, you know?
Mhm.
So the mission is to learn a lesson and to grow and evolve to be a higher level creator, maintainer, or dissolver. Does that make sense? Till we get to the
So,
point where we're the ultimate master being,
master being, what
not a
like
master of others.
uh,
Okay. Yeah, a
master of
master of
oneself,
self.
master of oneself. So you're saying, okay, so you're mastering yourself. So I think sometimes the enigma is I see that everyone has their own lesson, right? You said astrology or numerology reveals someone's life lesson, so maybe soul lesson, why they're here. But I think sometimes it's we resist the lesson. I don't like that lesson. Right?
That's right.
I'd rather have someone else's lesson. Someone else has it easier. Right? I don't like
Yeah.
my lesson. Why did is it bad karma? Is it God gave me my bad luck, bad born in the wrong astrological sign? So I think that's where it causes more suffering, where you're
So let
resisting a
me let me
lesson. Mhm.
qualify something you said. You said, I think sometimes we resist the lesson. No, we always resist the lesson. That's
Okay.
why it's a lesson
Oh.
until something happens where the pain of remaining is too great and the pain of changing and so this is called courage. So courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you are afraid, but you do it anyway. So let's take an example of a lesson of someone who has to learn patience. They are
Mhm.
impatient. They're
Mhm.
judging people all the time. They're labeling everyone as a pain in the backside. People are always trying to cheat me. They just have no patience and no trust. And so
Mhm.
their life goes on, and I'm thinking of clients and their life goes on every single day or week, every interface, the car person, the repair person, everybody is they're intolerant and impatient and judgmental on everyone until what happens? Until all of a sudden they have no friends and no family and they're alone and sad and they cry and they're like, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with everyone else? Why am I so sad, poor, unhappy? Because you're the problem,
Mhm.
you know? So then they have to decide. I'm giving you an example, right? So you have to decide, do I want to continue this suffering or do I want to live a happier, better life? Will I accept personal responsibility for my life. And
Mm,
guess what? A lot of people do not want to accept personal responsibility for their situation. It's someone else's fault.
mhm.
They don't want to do the work, don't want to accept responsibility. We're having a great conversation here.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much to unpack. So what's the way then? Is it surrendering to the lesson? You
The
know,
the way is rigid in design, but flexible in application. The
what does
way.
that mean?
The,
Mhm.
the way, there is only one way, and the way is the Tao. It's the way. It's the way we learn, grow. And so we have to go through certain trials and tribulations. We have to conquer fears. We have to surrender. We have to forgive. We have to learn compassion and empathy. It's all the lessons we have to learn.
Mhm,
Now,
mhm,
so that's this long way, which could last many thousands of years. And
mhm.
so I say the way is rigid in design, but it's flexible for every person because how you go through the way is completely unique and different to everyone else. I
I
cannot
get
give
it.
you a prescription for how you need to go because it's always going to be unique to you.
I get it. Okay. So I was taught, one of my spiritual teachers taught me m- mind training from the Kadampa masters of India. Mind training, taming the mind, opening the heart. Where I see the connection is, it's really the perfection of attitude. I have to evolve myself to take accountability of my own attitude, my own, um, non-virtuous attitudes, and I need to take accountability, and I need to change my ways, my imperfect attitudes, and that's the only thing I could work on, right? So I cannot necessarily change outside until I change my attitude.
Okay, you're exactly correct. It's all about you. Rumi famously said, when I was young, I wanted to change the world, and as I grew older and smarter, I just realized I had to change myself. Um, Changing yourself, you're not responsible or accountable for someone else's life. Now, let's qualify that for a minute. Let me just keep going. Your spouse, your mother, whatever. Obviously, if you're a parent, you're responsible to help raise your children and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about rearing the children. I'm saying that if you have a relationship with a parent or a sibling or a partner, you're not supposed to fix them. Okay. You can help them be a mirror to see themselves, but you are not responsible to fix them. And if you try to fix them, it's just about always going to fail because they're going to blame you for everything.
So what is my responsibility then? Fix
To be a
myself?
mirror, to be a mirror, well, for yourself, but as it relates in this context to somebody else, be a mirror, help them see themselves, support them, encourage them, love them,
Mm,
forgive them, you know. But your primary responsibility, it's not selfish to want to help yourself grow and evolve. Now, let's be clear, not everybody's on this path, right? I mean, I'm going to say there's more than 50% of the population, they don't want to do any of the self-improvement stuff, you know?
mhm,
That's fine. That's not where they are at this point in their journey, in the many lives journey.
mhm. So I equate it as you're saying a rigid game and what'd you say? Rigid
I
and
said
non-rigid?
the way is rigid in design, but flexible in application.
Right. So when you say that, I get a mental download analogy is it's like a flow of a river. Everyone, the flow of river, right? So you have to get yourself to flow with the river, but everyone's river is a little bit different. The winding curves, the velocity, everyone's river shape is different. But you have to be able to learn to navigate the rowboat, the sailboat down the river, the flow of life. And the more you resist the flow, you could resist it. You could jump off the river and go to be a spectator on the on the shore, but then you're not really going with the flow of your life, right?
So another way to expand that is to think of your one H2O molecule, one water molecule in that river. And some people don't see the river. They only see their own one little molecule.
Mm.
And some people know that they're a part of a bigger river that's a part of everything and everyone, everywhere, all at once for all eternity. Um, so yes, the things you're saying are true, you know, um, but it's also a part of something bigger.
That's a good point, JD, because I think that's why we're here today. I think that's why this conversation is why we met, is because I think you found your calling and you're awakened to, what your mission is. And me having this conversation with you made me realize you're right. I'm a drop in the river of the flow of the river. I play a part of the river, but my role is telling the story of the inner and outer game, right? Helping people align their inner and outer game. And that's why I was born into the family skincare business. But and then I realized, oh, okay, you have to use your uh the World of Form background, the World of Form skincare, and connect it with my superpowers and have a mission behind it to help others, because not many people are qualified to connect the inner and outer game. And
Right.
realizing that we are not our conventional age only, we are our energy. Our energy affects our age, right? So our energy, I believe, affects our age. If we are lower energy, lower vibration, it affects our DNA. It accelerates our aging. We get, accelerated in wrinkles and chronic stress, and if we are in higher energy, higher vibration, we feel more joyful, more health and wellness, and we feel younger, we feel energized, we feel joy. So, um, where does my question is, where does passion and power and purpose play a role in this?
Um, let me answer that question, and also relate it back to you and what you said. So I grew up as a Roman Catholic. I was taught that I was born in sin and was going to rot in hell if I ate meat on Friday or burn in purgatory and all that sort of stuff. And I wanted to be a priest when I was a child, and I actually was the lay minister on the submarine. So I would say, I had a very faithful religious mom and upbringing. And after my near-death experience, I began to see that all religions are spiritual, but spirituality is not a religion. That many religions, very sadly, are about control, money, and power. Go research the history of the popes, and you'll find a lot of bad stuff. Go research the history of all of the wars in the Middle East, which are supposed to be about religion, and they're not about religion.
Mhm.
So religion is actually a science, in that if you practice the principles, the spiritual principles and methods that we talk about, then magic happens and it's repeatable. But science is actually a religion because science is based on laws and theories, the most significant ones about time, matter, energy, mass, gravity have never been proven. They're assumptions. So key elements of science are based on faith, which is what we call religion. Key elements of religion are based on science,
Mhm.
practices. And so this got me all confused. And so as a Catholic, I wanted to understand what's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. For all these years, I was trained to pray about the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. What is that? And I kind of went up a level, and I thought, well, Father is purpose, and passion is the Son, and the Holy Ghost is the power, the force, the light. So to me, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, is your passion, your powers, and your purpose. And that the question isn't who am I or what's my purpose? It's three questions. What is my passion? What are
Mhm.
my powers? And how do I combine my passions and powers to fulfill my purpose, which I call that the Trinity of passion, purpose, and power. And now it makes sense to me. That's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Um, since I don't believe in accidents, I believe we chose our lives. I believe there's a plan, a contract. Look, let's think you're God, the omnipotent, the one, the force, the source. Um, if you're a builder, you hire plumbers and electricians, carpenters, painters, stereo foundation people, right? So there's like an architect for a house, and the architect hires a bunch of different craftsmen and experts to build the house, right? Could the house exist without the plumber? No. Could the house exist without, I mean, a functional house the way you want? Would it be the house you want without the electrician? Or how about without paint or stereo? You see what I'm saying? So the architect is this one God source, whatever, and we have contracts. We have a plan. You're supposed to be a builder, you're an illuminator, you're an organizer, you're a lover, you're a warrior, so on and so on and so on. And so you come into this life and you're raised by a mother who has built a beautiful beauty business dealing with people's outer games. But you are a master, you are an old soul. You know this. You are a very old master soul. You're here to help people heal. And so there's been a conflict in your life, probably, where this master soul is dealing with this physical job and like that's not what your master soul came here to be doing is to selling skincare products. Your master soul
Mhm.
came here to heal souls. And so
Right.
all of a sudden, right at middle age, you
Yeah.
figured out, oh my God, my passion is healing people. My powers are healing and products and now my purpose is to align my inner journey and outer journey with my customers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. And it took
you're
me my
doing
whole
it.
life to. I'm doing it. I'm trying to do it more, and I'm only in the last maybe 1 or 2 years that I started like
But that's
really
all part of the
aligning
path. I mean, if I look
part
at
of
your
the path. Yeah.
numerology, that's exactly where you are supposed to be in your
Mm.
path.
But is
You
a
had to go
purpose?
through you had to
Yeah.
go through the same pains and sufferings and all that sort of stuff, just like everybody else. You
Right.
had to learn how to heal yourself so you can heal
Mhm.
others.
Good point. So is someone's purpose? Is someone's purpose always related to others?
Well, I think so, because service is serving something greater than yourself. And every soul's purpose is to be of service to something other than themselves, something bigger than themselves.
So JD, my question is, so I hear a lot of people who, I mean, I think more and more people are finding their purpose, but some people are don't have a purpose per se. They don't know why they're waking up, other than maybe just, survival or just getting through the day. They're not really living, maybe they're just existing.
Surviving, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been through that before where I'm not really alive. I'm just trying to get through the day, get to the weekend, right?
Right.
Just get by. It's not a good feeling. It's I was
Sucks.
living like. Mhm.
It sucks.
It does suck. Yeah, I lived in that suck phase for many decades where, and I said, there's something more to this. Why am I here? Like,
I'm
this
sure I
is,
was there for at least 7 years,
yeah, yeah, and it's not a
struggling.
good feeling. And that's why I'm here to, I want to help people get through that dark tunnel, get through. There is a purpose. There is actually a purpose to the, being lost for a while, or being in the dark, or, just feeling hopeless, or just existing. And it's funny that that we have we met and we're having this conversation, and we both have a very parallel path. Like, we went through that suffering, that not knowing about these things. We weren't born knowing about all these subjects, but we lived through it. And I think we're both embodying our purpose, right? Where we're taking all that experience of suffering and drawing the wisdoms behind it. There's actually a purpose to it. There's that, I went through the journey of that suffering. Oh, like you said, well said, JD. It's like, oh, I went through uh learning skincare, but I went through my own skincare battles, acne and all that, where I didn't feel good about myself. But now I could empathize with others who are having skin issues or self-conscious or insecurities about their looks. And I could help them But when I overcame my acne, I wasn't necessarily more confident or more reassured enough, right? Maybe it's 5% more. So that's really my mission is like, okay, you may have better skin now. I helped you, man or woman look, more, have healthier skin. But that's not the ultimate way. That's not the ultimate, way to truly feel good about yourself. And that's where I
Right.
went into personal
Because then
development.
it'll just be something else.
Then it was something else that would bother me, right? Or my hair, or my clothes, or someone, something in the past, or uncertainty about there's always something. So I really then I had to dig into personal development. Then I had to, learn beyond personal development. It was spiritual development, and I think accumulation of all that one day led to me the epiphany where, oh my God, I think I know why I'm here. I have a purpose. I'm here to serve a greater good of helping people believe in themselves.
Right.
So it's just life is full of irony, right? Like you when you were Roman Catholic, you would probably never imagine that you would experience 11 days in May, right? Or
Yeah,
leaving your
right.
corporate job, or
Right.
like the are you still do you ever think about like are you like what happened to me? Like how did
Yeah.
this happen?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, here's what happens. We have and this is called the hero's journey, right? And there's
Mm,
three acts in the hero or heroine's journey. And you can Google that and you'll see a picture of a clock. And from 12 to 3 o'clock is the old life, and then the call to adventure. And then from Act Two is from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then Act Three is the return of the king or queen from 9 p.m. to midnight. And so Act One is your old ordinary world. Um, Act Two is when you go through the fire, the transition, and Act Three is when you're reborn. Okay. And if you think about any of the great movies, I like all the action movies, Iron Man and Lord of the Rings and Neo and the Matrix and all that. That they're all the three-act play of the hero. Harry Potter. Um, this is called the meta story that Joseph Campbell wrote about, and the book is called Journey of a Thousand Faces. Now, so you and I both had an old life, Act One, and we went through Act Two, the call to adventure, the collapse of the ego, the suffering, temptation, and then you get reborn in Act Three, and you return as the poet and the prophet, balancing everything. Now, this is the same story as Sir Galahad going for a search in the forest. How long was Sir Galahad wandering around in the forest? 10 years. I mean, this is the same thing as you must first pass through the dark of night before the dawn of day, you know? The dark of night before the dawn of day isn't a day or a month or a year. It can be 10 years. It can be 7 years.
even yeah.
Yeah. The shorter, and again, I could look at numerology and tell you how long it's supposed to be. The average for most people is 5 to 7 years. Now, but I can also look at numerology and look at a person and say, you have been stuck in transition for 15 years or 20 years. And look at what has happened the last 10 years. You got a divorce, the business failed, you had a heart attack. When you don't go down the path that you're supposed to go, bad things start happening left after right because you're not
Mm,
aligned with the universe or God, whatever one you call it.
the flow,
The flow. Yeah,
your flow.
you're out of sync. And I wouldn't believe this if I haven't looked at it's got to be close to maybe 7 or 8,000 people now in numerology. And so, I mean, it's amazing.
So JD, like without getting to someone's numerology or their charts, can you? How does someone know if they're in the flow or not? Is there like some indications or some
Well, yeah,
signs?
sure. I mean, when everything is happening effortlessly and accelerating, and you're having these signs and synchronicities, you're in the zone, you're in flow, you're doing what you're supposed to do. As opposed to when bad things, the car breaks down, the the RV exploded, the house caught on fire, my partner left me, my mother died, I just got robbed, all these things. And I know people are going to, it's going to be, there always will be people that say that, oh, I'm full of crap and all that. But I'm going to tell you, after studying thousands of lives, when you're in flow, everything goes effortlessly, easily, and you start getting reaffirming signs and messages. And when, you start to get small signs, the car engine light keeps coming on, but there's nothing wrong with your engine. A car is the great metaphysical representation of our life. So when the car brake lights keep coming on, it's telling you to slow down, even when there's nothing wrong with your brakes. I'm saying, you know,
Hmm.
like my low pressure light kept coming on in my tires, and I pulled into the place, and there's like, your tire pressure is fine. Well, it must be a bad gauge. Nope, we checked that. Your gauge is fine. And the tire pressure light kept coming on until I changed the direction of what I
Hmm.
was going, and then it stopped. You know,
Hmm.
so at the highest level, metaphysics is is above any ology. There's science and physics and biology and neurology. Those are all in discrete little ologies or study, but they're all a part of something bigger, a meta level. And at that meta level, we are connected to the animal kingdom. Where this is why we get animal signs and how these other metaphysical signs relate.
Hmm.
There's a great book I love. It's always within arm's reach. It's called Animal Speak by Ted Andrew. And
Hmm.
this is animal science. It's not a book you read, it's a book to interpret animal signs. There's other books I've got here. This one's called Signposts, How to Interpret Signs. I mean, once you start to understand how the universe is communicating to you through signs and wonders in animals, you realize that you're being pointed, you're being guided.
Well, li- really? Okay. I mean, when I was younger, I would think like I'm making stuff up. I'm over exaggerating, and people always like, "Oh, Pat, you're just full of imagination. You're looking to things that are not
Right. There's
true."
the
You know,
naysayers. Yeah.
naysayers, right? So then I'll be like, "Whatever. I'm just making things up." But then the last few years, it's like, no, the signs are so obvious. Where it's repetitive, it's like mind blowing. It's like, what are odds of this happening? Right? Where it's like 111 or sign like numeral, what do you call
So
it?
I'll
Angel
give you a
frequency
sign.
numbers.
I had a very powerful sign yesterday. So I've been working, I'm also the executive director of the Do More Good movement, besides the founder of the Messenger Institute. And by the way, you can go to messengerinstitute.com or domoregoodmovement.com. um, and for a year, we've been organizing this big conference called the ROI of Why, which is the end of May. Great, great event in Omaha. And so I finally have finished and I'm kind of caught up. And so I want to get back to finish writing my book. And so for a week or so, writing my book, I put this bracelet on to remind me that my focus and purpose is to write a book and share knowledge.
Mm,
And so yesterday, I was going through my emails, email at 9 o'clock, 9:05, 9:20. And I click on the next email, and it was a friend who had sent me a list of the best-selling books. And so I replied back and I said, "Hey, thanks for sending that to me. It was a real inspiration because it's reminding me that my books can be best-selling books." And so I hit send and then I looked. He had sent me that email 3 years ago. The date timestamp on that email was 3 years ago. And it was right after my messages from this morning. You want to tell me how that happened? Right? Like,
mm.
is that crazy?
Yeah.
So I took
Which
a
is
picture of it, sent it to him. Just I could show you the picture now, and you'll see. Here's all of this yesterday's emails, this morning's emails, and here's his email. And you look at the date, and you see it was 3 years ago.
yeah,
That's a sign.
signs help develop more faith. Trust the
Absolutely.
universe,
Yeah.
right? Trust the universe. So another question, like earlier you mentioned
Here's
contract.
another sign, goosebumps. In my
Mm,
book, I call goosebumps truth bumps. So when you
mhm.
said it, I got goosebumps. I got a
What did I
sign.
say?
You said we got to learn to trust signs, and I got a sign
Yeah.
saying, yeah, you trust your signs.
Yeah, yeah,
Goosebumps.
yeah.
Goosebumps. What's making 100 trillion cells make the hair stand up all over your body? What's doing that? What do you think? It's an accident? No, it's not an accident. It's related to energy. It's related to your neurology. So when and why does it happen? So start a little journal, folks, on when do you get goosebumps? What was it someone just said when you got the goosebumps? And my theory is that that's a sign that you just heard truth that you're denying or
Mm.
ignoring or resisting. Pay attention to truth bumps.
A dream's a sign?
Well, dreams are very complicated. Some dreams, and I studied dreams for years, could never figure anything out. I mean, some dreams are gobbledygook. It's like your hard drive is just defragging itself. Some dreams are very lucid and insightful, where I'll wake up and I'll be speaking a language I don't even know what I'm speaking, or I'll
Mm.
write a formula or something that is profound knowledge. And some dreams led to an invention and creation, and some
Yeah,
dreams were premonitions, you know?
prophetic. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So dreams are complicated.
Going back to
Some
the
people
question earlier.
believe, some people believe, and I tend to lean towards this, that dream time is when we're connecting to the universe, past lives,
Mhm.
current lives, like that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know if you ever saw that. I guess not.
No.
Um, it's about the multi dimensions, multi universes. So some people feel that dreams are a time where we're connecting to all the things happening in the universe, which is possible in my mind.
Yeah, but sometimes I notice in my life when I pray before I go to sleep, I can't control it when it happens, but then the it's prophetic. The dreams are prophetic. Eventually,
Yeah.
it's a message there. But sometimes my ego would misinterpret the message. But if I just feel the energy, the vibration of the dream, how it feels in the dream, it's a message there.
It's different.
Um, yeah. I wanted to ask a question earlier. You mentioned about contract, right? Like the hero's journey. Um, like, and I question that sometimes. Like I hear sometimes people talk about like soul contracts, soulmate type of contracts, twin flame contracts, and it's karmic debt contracts, and like, do you really believe in that? Like, was there any revelation in that 11 days in May about contracts? Like, who did I sign a contract with? Was it the creator? Is it did I notarize it? Did I willfully sign up for it, or was I just a chosen for it? Like where's this contract from?
So this is a theory. Um, I like to distinguish when I'm speaking, and I'm speaking from what I consider a position of truth. And you'll notice a lot of things I've said in here, I've said as if they're a fact, that we are pure energy, that everything is energy, that thoughts affect reality. All those things that I said like that is because they are facts, you know? Now, there is no way to prove that we are a soul who lives many lives. That's a theory. But it's pretty well-founded theory, and in my life, it's the only answer. Um, so if we can't prove if it's a theory that we live many lives, then it's also a theory that we have a soul contract. Okay. So can't be proven. However, again, based on all of the other decades and thousands of people and all of the
Right.
science, physics, blah, 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 this is the only given belief that we live many lives. It is substantiated by numerology. When you in astrology, you give me your birth date and time, and the charts and the stars say you are ABCD, and you give me your name on your birth certificate and your date of birth, that's it. And it says, oh, you're ABCD. How
Mhm.
how the heck? And then you read them and you go, yeah, that's me. And it says, Messenger, you're going to write a book in your 54th birthday that's going to be teaching for humanity, which I didn't know about when I wrote my book because 11 Days of May came out 4 months into my 54th birthday.
Wow.
And you see it over and over and over and over hundreds of times a year. Something that is said in astrology or numerology happens the way it's said from your name on your birth certificate, from the point of the stars, And by the way, those are totally different independent sciences and they say the same thing and you look at it and then I look at it and it says here's your lessons. Oh, you have to learn patience. And yeah, oh, there you go. You have to learn patience.
Mm,
And it says this is going to happen to you this year and that happens to you this year. It's not an accident.
mm,
There's not you cannot the probability of this series of events happening is one in billions and billions. It's
right,
not an accident.
right, right, right.
Therefore, you have to come to the conclusion that this is your agreement. You chose to come in this life to learn this stuff, and you can not do it. You have free will. And I
Right.
guarantee you, if this is true and you don't do what it says you're supposed to do, you're going to come back and do it again.
Replay.
If everything I
Yeah,
said
replay.
is true and you want free will to not do it, sure, go ahead and not do it. And those people who I see that don't follow this, their lives get problem after problem after problem after problem.
Mm. What two things from that is what I realize is when your one's weakness is the lesson. Whatever you're weak at is the lesson, and that's giving you the lesson is giving you an opportunity to develop and
Well,
overcome it.
yeah. Well, Carl Jung said, what you resist persists. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then inference, right? So what you're saying is inference. Like you can't necessarily factually prove it, but uh, you could infer, and it makes logical sense. But and also, I think sometimes the mind, the mind is naturally sometimes I think is very doubtful. What it cannot comprehend, it just doubts, and that blocks the faith. Even though sometimes the evidence is right staring you there, but whatever
Well,
the mind is
yeah,
just
hold on. There's several parts to your mind. It's not as if they're
is
disconnected. Like there's the amygdala back here, and there's the frontal cortex and other parts of your brains. But what we know is the center of activity A is here, the center of activity B is here, and C and things like that. So the amygdala is a part of the brain, a little thing back here that whenever it senses a threat, it forces you into fight or flight or freeze mode. And it will do that. This is where a flop occurs or PTSD. It shuts off the frontal part of your thinking. You stop thinking. This is why somebody could be standing in the middle of the road and a car is coming right at them and they're going to get hit and they freeze. What kind of person who's thinking would stand there and let themselves get hit? No one. But this part of the brain, the frontal cortex, is shut off from this. And this doesn't even know that this shut itself off. So back to what you were saying, parts of the mind are programmed to react certain ways. Whenever the amygdala senses danger,
Mhm.
fear, blame, guilt, a flop, any of these things, worries, concerns, it will shut this off. And then
Mm.
you're lost at sea because you're not
Yeah,
consciously aware anymore. This is
right.
what happens when you get into an argument or a fight, which is why when you get into an argument or fight, you need to walk away
Mm.
before you pull out the gun or do something stupid,
Right,
you know,
right, right,
and
right.
breathe, just like your shirt. You need to
Okay,
breathe because when you
okay,
breathe, this turns off and this opens up,
okay. So good point. So basically, the amygdala gets activated, which triggers the sympathetic nervous system,
right?
activates cortisol. Cortisol spike.
Yeah.
Cortisol spike actually kills collagen production. So if you want to age gracefully, stay youthful, then definitely de-stress and activate the parasympathetic side and breathe. Proper breathing um, calms the nervous system. So, JD, any tips on how people could help? Any tips on regulating the nervous system, deactivating the amygdala, so we could,
Well, I'll tell
think
you,
more clearly?
so first of all, I love walking. I think walking is a great thing. I walk five
Mhm.
miles a day every day. I mean, my year average, 2 year average is 5 miles a day. I mean, there might be some days where I walked eight and some days where I walked four, you know what I mean? But
How
so
long?
walking
How long does it take?
in in nature. Well, I don't do it once. I'll do it, I walk first thing in the morning. I walk
Uh,
before I go to bed at night. I walk after every meal. Whenever I can do a phone call instead of a desk call or Zoom, I'll walk and talk. If I've got to be on hold for somebody, I'll just go out and walk. So I'll walk like, I don't know, I guess it might be 8 or 10 times a day for 20 minutes, something like that.
okay,
But
okay.
walking in nature, walking in the trees, it clears your mind. It takes you away from the screens. It activates circulation, digestion, blood flow. Walking is the best thing you can do for your health. It's so easy. Now, on top of that, then, of course, physical exercise, doing a little weightlifting, doing some push-ups or sit-ups. But on
Mm.
top of that, I have this vegetables and fruits, healthy eating.
Vegetables.
You need vegetables and fruits. And so, try to avoid things that are bad, alcohol and soda and junk food and things like that. Not that I don't have some of that here or there, but, not a lot.
Are you practicing grounding when you're walking? Bare feet
Oh,
or any
well,
of that?
no, grounding. I practice grounding almost every day, but where I'll sit on the chair and I'll do my breathing and count down and ground, sitting right here to prepare for of an event or a meeting, or if I find myself stressful, if I've had some event happen and stress me out, I'll do my breath work. A couple of weeks ago, somebody really angered me, and I knew that that meant it was a flop, and I couldn't respond at the time. And so I
Mm,
I did my, I said I got to go, and I did my breath work and I walked, and then I went into the scenario to find the trigger, and I found the trigger. And the
mm,
the wound that this person triggered was betrayal.
mm,
And so I had to forgive that person. The person I was yelling at was not the one who betrayed me, but it was when they mentioned the person who betrayed me in the call with me
mm,
that it
mm,
triggered me to react with them. And so
mm,
then, by the way, I immediately apologized to the person I got angry about,
mm,
and then
mm.
told them that they had triggered me and who and how and why. And they were totally cool with it. But you see, I knew within 10 minutes of losing my losing my, getting angry,
Mm.
that, oh my God, I'm being triggered. I have a flop. I got to go away. And
Yeah.
so within less than an hour, I healed myself. I recognized it. I looked back and did those things. I reflected on it. I reflected
Uh-huh.
on the scenario, the conversation. I found the trigger. Then I forgave that person. Then I called up and apologized to the other
Right.
person.
So it takes self-awareness to
Yeah.
recognize you're in this situation, and so through my study of breath work and practicing of breath work, what I realize is breath work allows you the opportunity, the technique, and the tool to, okay, I'm really triggered right now. I'm not feeling good. My afflictions have arisen. It's here. It's visiting me. What do I do now? Right? What
It's
do I do
visiting.
now? Yeah, it's visiting me, but how can I distance myself from this uh anger or
Yeah, you
resentment
gotta,
or
you gotta,
attachment
you
or
gotta force yourself to, you know, retreat, back off, go for a walk, breathe, get away from
breathe?
it,
Right,
and until you can calm down.
right. Because
You
the
you
breath
have
work is
to,
really right.
yeah,
No, because the breath
yeah,
work is really okay. I'm gonna reprogram myself right now and take control of my physiological state.
yeah.
Because the flashback is so powerful. It's the PTSD,
Yeah, but
the trauma.
for some people, they're angry all the time, every day. They're
Yeah.
deeply wounded.
Hmm.
I you know, yeah, I won't say anymore, but there are some people that are very wounded, and they have no idea. So sad, but that's the way it is.
Well, thank you,
Well, this has
JD.
been
It's
this
been
has been fantastic. I'm very grateful.
likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
for
job.
thank you.
Continue the good work.
Thank you, JD. Thank you for all sharing your all your wisdoms and
Yeah, it's
real
my
life
pleasure. Great.
experience.
Yeah, I like it.
Appreciate it, JD. Thank you.